welcome to Scrappin with Sheri and project recipe number 14. Now I'm excited about doing this layout because I'm going to be using Tropic Time. Now I know that's strange because my friend Hillary just used Tropic Time in the video that she did for us, but my daughter-in-law went on a mission trip to Belize and I took some of those pictures from her so I could do this layout to include in our family album. Now the original layout was done using Christmas paper, but in looking for the papers to do this layout, I chose them all from the Tropic Time designer paper collection. These two will be my background, and I felt like they were kind of a semi-solid, and I like that. This paper is the one that's going to tie everything together because it's got all of the colors in it, and I'm going to be using these three to do my cuts here. So I kind of laid it out in my head, but we'll see what it turns out like. So this orange paper is the paper I'm going to be using for this, and this is going to be our big square here, and then our border down this side. And then they say to punch shapes here. I'm not going to be punching those shapes, so I will have a little of this left over if I need it. But we're cutting this first square at 8.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Now that gives us our 3.5 here, so that part's already done. And then all I have to do is turn this to 8.5. And we've got that square for the opposite page. And then one piece of leftover. Now our second designer paper, when I was looking at it, it's going to be some of these folded squares here. But it's also going to be stripes around the outside of this. And I really like the back of this. I felt like that would be really pretty as those stripes. So let's make the cuts on that. And we're cutting first at 2.5. 2.5. And that's a whole long strip of 2.5 because we're going to cut those into little squares. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there are our 4 2.5-inch squares. It leaves us a little bit on the bottom here. And then we've got these 4 little bitty strips, and they're all 1/2 inch by 9.5. So our 1/2 inch mark is the first one to the right side of the mat. And I'm going to cut 4 of those. And it shows those cut off at 9.5. So I am going to go ahead and rotate those and cut them. These other 2 pieces are mats, and I'm not sure I'll use those, so I'm not going to cut those at this time. But I am going to do this 9.5. That would mean that I need to cut 2.5 off. And I am going to cut those all at the same time. Let me just line that up on my 2.5-inch mark here. And we've got those done. And then our last paper, I chose to be this because there are going to be more of the little squares here. There are also mats here that I probably will not cut at this time. And then more punches if we choose to do any punched shapes. But these are going to be, there'll be 2 rows of 2.5. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those 2 rows. 2.5 and then 2.5. So we have a good bit of paper left over if I chose to do another page using these papers. And then we just need to make these 2.5-inch squares. I've been excited lately. Several of you have emailed me about getting your trimmer cutting guide. And if you have not done that and you still want it, go ahead and send me an email. The email address will be on the bottom of your screen. And just ask for the trimmer cutting guide. When you get that, you'll just need to print it out. And I printed mine on cardstock and laminated it and then cut it out. And I do have a little bit of an extra edge here that is bothersome sometimes. But I taped it on with my tape runner. So it's really easy to do it once you get that. And feel free to email me if you're interested in that. Okay, So we've got all of our pieces cut, and the most time-consuming part of this is going to be making these squares the way they need to be. So I think the easiest way to make those squares work evenly will be to fold them corner to corner, and then just take that corner into your center, like so. That will leave a little bit of a crease there. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And as I was looking at them, they folded them all the same direction, so the same patterns are showing on each piece. And I'm not sure yet which patterns I want showing, but once I've folded them once, it'll be easy enough to flip them backwards if I choose to do that. So I'm just going to fold all of these and get that done. I told you this is the longest part of this whole layout. So once we get all these squares folded, I think the rest should come together pretty quickly. And I really do love this pattern, so I keep thinking, oh, maybe I should have folded them the opposite direction, so I'll see more of that. And I very likely will swap those up. Let me just do one the other way and see what it looks like, because I have a feeling it's going to be what I like best. Yeah, I think that's going to be prettier. I guess when I'm taping them down, I can switch it. And let's see, I really like this pattern. Let's try it that way. Too much decision making on this one. Sometimes they're just really easy to pop down. Yeah, I like that showing. And then we get to go back and tape all these little flaps. So I am going to flip these around the other direction. Fortunately, I've already got my fold lines, so it shouldn't be that hard to flip. And I'm just going to tag those little edges. And these are going to go in the corners. And they're all the same on this page. And then on the opposite page, we'll do some alternate. So let's grab our border. And it looks like they started with this. That's the different one. And then ended with it as well. And then I'm going to flip these three over and get them done. I do think using it so that we get more color from this is going to be a lot prettier, since that's what I wanted to use to tie it all together anyway. Quite honestly, now that I've got all that stuck, I probably should have worked this one down a little bit and that one down a little bit and evened out that space. But I'm not going to go back and redo those. I'm just going to cut this one off on the bottom using my... But I could have evened them out a little bit better if I had realized that it wasn't going to fit exactly. All right, let's get the other page laid out. It has a little bit more moving parts to it. And we're going to pull this square in the center. And it looks like we center it, and then these are going to overlap it just a little bit. But I think what we're going to have to do is put the square in first. This would be a great place to have your 13-inch mat if you have that handy. I don't happen to have mine handy, so we're just going to go with it and hope we line it up reasonably straight. Now, you all know that I am not a yellow fan, but I decided that this yellow was okay because it's only going to show around the outsides. This is also a very tropically page, so the yellow is good. And there's some yellow in the photos on the page, so that also helps me out a little bit. And I decided to use this side as the outside edge border, I think. I could do the green instead. Actually, I think the green is going to look better because it's going to provide a contrast with these white pieces right here. So we are going with the green, although I really wanted to use that teal and orange with it. But remember, we've got this that ties everything together. So it's not like we are just putting colors on there randomly that aren't going to work. I think that's probably one of the hardest things to get in your head, is that you've got to have something that ties it all together. If you just randomly throw down a bunch of papers, it looks like you randomly throw down a bunch of papers sometimes. If you will choose a color in the paper, like this, or in your embellishments, or even in your photos, if there are several predominant colors in your photos, you can use those to tie everything together. But it's so important to have that unifying factor. That's why I think most people are happiest with the pages they create using all one collection, because typically those work well together. Let's get these on all four corners. And you can see my corners on these greens are not exact. Fortunately, that's not going to matter because this corner addition here is going to overlap all of that and make it fine. And I do like the way these just fit right up in those corners. It actually makes it look like you have folded back a piece of your paper on here. It's kind of a neat look. Something a little bit different that we've not done. Okay, look how pretty that is. And then we just need to add this on the opposite side. And I've got a little bit of an overhang there, so I'm going to slide mine over just a hair, just to keep those points from going off the outside edge. And I don't really want to cut them off. It almost looks like a quilt square. And now the fun part, because I actually have pictures for this layout. So let me grab the pictures. I did not print them in exactly the sizing that it called for on the sketch. And that was really because I had more pictures than the sketch called for one thing. And I wanted to make sure to get them all in. And I kind of played around with some sizing here and there. And, you know, because I developed them myself, I did do different sizes and put 2 on a sheet there. And then I've got my white mats on them. And what I'm doing now is just kind of making the side-to-side space about the same. All these pictures are not exactly the same size, so it's not going to work exactly. But I think the look's going to be good. And then on this page, they had shown one here, one down here, and then another small one in the middle. And I like the look of this as it was fading into evening where they were doing their mission work. And then this is the place where they stayed. And I think what I'll do is take a journaling box here maybe, or because I wasn't on this trip, I may just be able to put the year and the date here and maybe add some embellishments in this area. And that's something I'm going to have to check into. I don't know if I have any Tropic Time embellishments left. But we're going to stick all these down. I had even thought when I looked at these pictures initially how fun it would be to use that new secret box that came out that had all the stars and moon and papers and all that. That would be so pretty. But I've already designed all my pages with it. And I didn't have anything left. So, Tropic Time it was. And this is my daughter-in-law here. She's a trained dental assistant. That's not what she does in her job right now. But it has become very helpful for her on these mission trips to Belize because they do medical and dental work. And she's able to work well with some of the dentists who don't speak English really well because she knows what to do. And She has worked with this doctor for several years in a row. Oh, I don't even know how many years. And they just seem to communicate without using language a lot of the time, but they're really good together. And she does this trip with her dad. He has gone, oh, I think every time she has been, except maybe one time. And it's something that they look forward to every year, just getting away and doing the mission work in Belize. I think that's a really neat experience for the two of them. All right. So, we've got all of the pictures on. We've got all of this done. Let's see what we can pull for embellishments. So, I did find a few embellishments. This Tropic Time I liked. And this, it's a good day to have a good day. I thought that would be perfect over here with them, with some of the workers and the children. And then I had a lot of this greenery left. And I'm thinking that I can add it and then add this over the top of it. But I want some of that greenery showing, because that's a big thing in Belize, is all the greenery. I think I'll just add several pieces of the green, just here and there. This will overlap that. And then I had a couple more of these bigger leaves that I think I'm going to pull out right here. And that's all the embellishment I'm going to do. Now, I am going to pop all of these with foam squares. You knew that was coming, didn't you? And I'm kind of getting the leaves over so that they're more on the yellowy spot, so that they show up better. And again, because this was not my trip, I don't have lots to say about it. So I feel like just journaling right there will be plenty. I like this. Colorful is a good day to have a good day. It draws in all of our colors again. Then a few more foam squares over here. I do like to use a title block or something a little more substantial like this to draw all of my embellishments together. I feel like just having random embellishments floating in the sky somewhere just doesn't work for me. I like having something that kind of connects everything, I guess is the right word. And that does it right there. And then for this, I'm just going to use my repositionable tape. And I'm not going to put a ton of tape on this, and I'm just going to do it directly on my table. It'll be all right. Maybe have that go downward here. And that picks up all of the trees and the foliage that are in those pictures on that side. So, there we go. So, that is project recipe number 14, done using the Tropic Time collection. And until I see you next time, happy scrapping.